Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhastijada Sudharani Om Aganachamarandasya Ganangana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. My name's Sahdev Das, and I'm a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I was initiated in 1971 in Sydney, Australia. When I first found out about Krishna Consciousness, it was a little article in a magazine, and two devotees, what's her name? Upendra and Upananda, they both came to Australia. They landed at the top of Australia, and then they made their way down to Sydney. And so when I saw that article, it was very short, and it said something like, two devotees coming to spread the message of Krishna Consciousness. And when I saw that, immediately my interest was there, and I wanted to meet them. But I was living on the other side of Australia at the time, and I was young. I was only, I think, 15 years old, 16 years old, like that. So I hadn't finished school, and I was still dependent on my parents. And so the Beatles put out a record, one single, I can't remember the name, but on the other side it was the Hare Krishna mantra. And the Hare Krishna mantra was playing from beginning to end of that record, maybe 3 or 4 minutes like that. And when I first heard that, I didn't know it was connected to Krishna Consciousness. I didn't know it was connected to Prabhupada. And so but I love to hear that, and I would play it again and again and again. So then I started a electrical apprenticeship at the age of 17. Yeah, I was 17. And then after 1 year of that, I decided I want to travel Australia and see Australia. So then I began traveling Australia. And then I was in Brisbane. This is in 1970, I think. And in 1970, the Harinam party was there. They had a preaching party from the temple in Sydney, and they came to Brisbane to do Harinam and to preach and distribute books. So I heard the chanting on the streets. I heard the Naga Sankirtan party, and I was very attracted to that. And I really wanted to see what this was, who these people are, and what was happening. And really, I actually felt like running. I was so attracted that I just wanted to run. And so anyway, I came across the Sankirtan party, and I talked to 3 devotees, Bhaivavi, Krishna Premi, and I can't remember the other devotee, my god sisters. And so they were explaining to me, and this is on the main street in Brisbane. So they were explaining to me about Krishna Consciousness, about karma, about the jiva, how the jiva is eternal. So they're giving me some tattvas there that I really appreciated and I really liked. And so they invited me to the temple in Sydney because I was on my way to Sydney. So they said, okay, come and visit. And they said they have, every Sunday they have a Sunday feast. And before the Sunday feast, they go to, can't remember the park, a botanical garden there. And they do preaching and they invite people to come. So I was in Sydney, and I just happened to be there on a Sunday at that garden where they were chanting and they were inviting. And they had a big bus. And they asked me to come. So I said, yes, okay, I'll come. And so I jumped on the bus and went to the temple for the Sunday feast program. And then I liked so much that I actually rented an apartment, just a 3 or 4 minutes walk from the temple. And I was working at the time, and so I transferred my address just very near the temple. And so I was here in class every morning. I was talking to the devotees and made friends with them. And I was becoming more and more convinced every day that about Krishna consciousness. And so then after maybe 6 months of this, I was attending the morning program, then I'd go to work, come back, and then attend the evening program. And then one devotee there, his name is Ajamil, and he suggested that I join the temple. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not ready to be a monk. But anyway, he was very convincing, and over a number of weeks, he convinced me to join the temple in Sydney. So after joining the temple in Sydney, I then was engaged with the temple program. We would go on Sankirtan for between 9 and 5 every day. We would just chant all day, and we would distribute books all day. And I was feeling so happy doing this that I thought, well, I think I should stay. And so then maybe 6-7 months later, Prabhupada came to Sydney. So this is the first time I saw Prabhupada. And so we were frantically decorating the temple in Sydney. Prabhupada arrived at the airport and we still hadn't finished decorating the temple. And so some devotees went to meet Prabhupada at the airport, and many devotees stayed at the temple and continued finishing off all the decorations at the temple. So anyway, we were so absorbed in decorating the temple that when Prabhupada arrived outside in a car, we didn't even know. Prabhupada walked through the front gate, and then we all saw Prabhupada. And then we did full dandavats, and Prabhupada looked like a rising sun. Prabhupada was so effulgent. And when I saw Prabhupada for the first time, I felt that this is someone that I could trust. This is someone that has my welfare in mind. This is my friend, my well-wisher. And so then we went into the temple and we did the Guru Puja, and then Prabhupada gave a very nice class. And Ajamil, he grabbed me. This is at the beginning of the class. He grabbed me because we washed Prabhupada's feet in a bowl. And so he grabbed the bowl and grabbed me and dragged me at the back and said, "You have to take this. This is the water from Prabhupada's feet." And so he gave me the water, and so I immediately drank it. And so then we went back into the class, and then Prabhupada gave a very nice class, and I was very impressed. I mean, previously I'd been reading Prabhupada's books, but to actually hear Prabhupada personally was an experience that I never really expected. Because when we hear from the lips of pure Vaishnava, that it enters the heart. It's not. It's like when you read books or you hear lectures from someone, theoretical knowledge, or it's not the same. When you hear, when Prabhupada spoke, it had so much meaning and so much gravity and so much impact that it was very convincing and very believable. So then that evening, there was, how many brahmacharis? There was maybe 30, 40 brahmacharis like that. And so then Prabhupada, after the lecture, then Prabhupada was taken to his room, and then Prabhupada was there for a number of hours, and then there was special prasadam cooked for Prabhupada. And then after prasadam, it was in the evening, and Prabhupada came out to the back, to the backyard. We were renting a house in Glebe, a suburb called Glebe in Sydney. And it was a rented house, and it had a very big backyard. I think it was maybe 1/8 of an acre. It was quite big. And so we were sitting there in the evening, and Prabhupada came out. And, you know, I was very impressed the way that Prabhupada related to us. He was more like an affectionate father than some big guru controlling figure. And so he treated us like his sons. And it was very affectionate dealings, and it was my first experience with Prabhupada having any intimate relationship. And so Prabhupada sat down on a chair, and we were sitting around his feet, and then he was discussing different aspects of Krishna conscious philosophy. One of the things, he pointed to the stars, and he said that these stars are all planets where demigods are living. And he said that these demigods, they're all devotees of Krishna. And that really blew my mind, because I was very much brainwashed by the atheistic scientific theories that the universe is a dark place, no one is living there, and if there is anyone out there, they're out to get you. They've got big teeth and they look really ugly and like that. So Prabhupada totally dispelled that illusion for me, just in a few moments. And this is the benefit. This is the value of hearing from pure Vaishnavas. Is that when you hear from pure Vaishnava, it enters the heart. It's an experience. It's like someone can tell you what butter tastes like, but unless you actually taste butter, you will never know what the real taste of butter is. So it's like that. When we heard from Prabhupada, then we were experiencing, because we were serving Prabhupada. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that one should approach a bona fide spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service. And then the spiritual master will impart knowledge to you because he has seen the truth. So because we were serving Prabhupada, then when we heard him speak, then there was a great influence on us. And I felt, or I experienced so many tattvas from Prabhupada, from hearing from him, which is a very enlivening, happy experience for me. And so two things happen when you hear from a pure devotee. Two things happen. One is vairagya, detachment from this world, develops. The other is jnana, or knowledge. And the ultimate knowledge is our relationship with Krishna. our Siddha Swarup, Siddha Pranali, or our relationship with Krishna. And this is the highest knowledge that Vaishnava will give. And this is what Prabhupada came to give in the Western world. He came to give Krishna Prem. And for us who were serving him, we understood that. So there's a difference between reading Prabhupada's books and or hearing from Prabhupada and not serving. If you serve, then you experience that knowledge. That knowledge is revealed to you by Prabhupada. That basically wraps it up for how I was introduced to Krishna Consciousness. But ultimately, like when Parikshit Maharaj, when he met Shukadeva Goswami, in Bhagavatam this is described, and Parikshit Maharaj said that this is a divine arrangement. This is a divine arrangement of divine providence, which is the arrangement of Krishna. So when we get association with Prabhupada, it was Krishna's mercy. Krishna gives Guru and Guru gives Krishna. So we got the mercy of Krishna by having association with Prabhupada. There, in Jaiva Dharma by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's an explanation how one comes, that in the beginning there's a Gyata Sakriti, that one will develop Sakriti unknowingly. For example, if there's a Ratha Yatra going on in the city, and someone will see Lord Jagannath, then he's developing a Gyata Sakriti. Or if he gets Prashadam, that's maybe there's some sweets that are distributed on the street, or maybe a bird will drink some water from the imprint of a pure devotee's foot in the mud. There's so many different ways of a Gyata Sakriti. So when a Gyata Sakriti develops, then one develops Shraddha. And then when one develops Shraddha, he has natural faith in Krishna. And so that faith will develop because there's an attraction. Because of that Shraddha, there's an attraction, and that Shraddha will bring one to Krishna consciousness, and then the Shraddha increases. And then when Shraddha increases and becomes sufficient, then one gets Sadhu Sangha, association with pure Vaishnava. And so one time one devotee asked Prabhupada, about, Prabhupada was explaining that one has to be fortunate to come to Krishna consciousness. So one devotee asked Prabhupada about that, and then about the Western devotees, and then Prabhupada said, he said, I am giving you the good fortune. But generally speaking, the devotees, they're very attracted to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada disciples, there was a natural, very strong attraction. I mean, there had to be, for someone to give up their life, the momentum of their life, and just totally give their life to Prabhupada and just give their whole day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, serving Prabhupada, then there has to be some attraction, there has to be some Sakriti for that. Hare Krishna.